Good morning. Happy Monday, all. So here we are in our next week of online learning. Hopefully you are doing well, and so is your family. And we are about to move into our next phase of working with these parabolas. So today we're going to take the two things that we've done so far, the graphing of the parabola given information, and writing the parabola in standard form, and put them together. So here's our aim. Here's number 1. X squared plus 8x minus 16y minus 48. All right, so this is what we were doing last week as well. We want to write this in standard form, which means we find the guy that's squared and we keep him on the left. So these two pieces will stay on the left. These two pieces move to the right. And remember to change everyone's sign when you move them over, please. You can move them one by one if that's what you're more comfortable with. But that's what you should eventually end up with. So once you have that, we take our completing the square piece or component of this. You take your b, divide it by 2, and square it. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16. That's our magic number that we add to both sides. That gets us our perfect square trinomial, because the square root of 16 is 4. 4 plus 4 does get me 8. So there's my perfect square trinomial. Over here, when I combine like terms, I get 16y, and 48 plus 16 gets you 64. Now we can GCF out what they have in common, which is 16. Right out. And when you factor out that 16, you're left with y plus 4. So here's my equation. So this is as far as we took it last week. Now we're going to incorporate in what we had done previously. So we want to think about some things. Look at this, the equation you have. You have an x squared. So that's this standard equation. Yes, hopefully you recall that. And what that does is that tells us about the direction of our parabola. So it's either going to open up or down because it is x squared. And from that, we can now figure out some other information. So if you look at what matches up, you've got your h here, you've got your k here, and you've got 4p equals 16. So we're going to start with that. So if 4p equals 16, you're just going to solve for p, which means that p equals 4. So p, that is your distance. Remember, that is the distance from the focus to the vertex and also the vertex to the directrix. So that's important to us. That's our distance. And over here, remember that your vertex is h comma k. And if you look, and we've talked about this extensively with parentheses, when you move things in and out of parentheses, signs will change. So in order for a negative h to equal negative 4, if you want to write that out to yourself, not negative 4, equals 4, you would divide by negative 1, and h equals negative 4. Likewise, negative k is going to equal 4, divide by negative 1, and k equals negative 4. So you can either just change your signs as you pull them out, or you can actually solve. It is your preference. I will just be pulling them out. So now I have my vertex and I have my p, which are two crucial pieces in our parabolas. So we're going to graph this. So at negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my vertex, remember that. And the vertex is the center of everything. So when we look at our p-value is positive. So p is positive, which means it opens up for this case because it's the x squared. So I'm going to be opening up. My focus is going to be 4 units up from my vertex. So when you count up 4, that puts you here. That is your focus. Because remember, we talked about this. Your focus is in front, your vertex is in the middle, and your directrix is behind that. So here's my directrix. Since my directrix crosses the y-axis, it is a y equals line. Y equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got our focus at -4, 0. And then our vertex like we had at -4, -4. So there's all of our key information. We have that our p equals 4. We have that our vertex is -4, -4. We have our focus at -4, 0. And our directrix at y equals 8. So these are the pieces we want every time. And then that sketch of that parabola coming in that upward direction. So there we have it. There is our equation. There is our picture. There are our key components that were asked to find. We asked you to find the vertex, the focus, and the directrix. And P is needed to find those things. And this is what we're going to practice the next couple of days. So I'm going to do another one to get you more comfortable, let you have another example to look at as well. We know that these things are helpful. So here we go. So same directions, we want to find that focus, directrix, and vertex. So here's number 2. Let's do y squared plus 2y plus 12x minus 23. So again, there's my equation. And now from that equation, we are going to take our time and we are going to move our pieces, get it into standard form. So remember, look for your squared. Here's my squared. It's a y this time, so y's stay on the left. The other pieces are going to move to the right. And again, make sure you are changing your signs as you move each piece. They are individual pieces. And from there, we take our b value, divide it by 2, and square it. Gets us a magic number of 1. Perfect square trinomial. Square root of 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 does get me 2. Over here, when you combine your like terms, you get negative 12x plus 24. And then you're going to take out what they have in common. Since the negative is in front, we take that with it. So this gets me an x, this gets me negative 2. This is where some of you need to watch your signs and be careful, please. I know I've stated that a couple of times as I ask you to check your work. So just be careful that you are dividing out properly. So now that I am in my standard form, we can go ahead and find our pieces. Go back to your standard equation formula. And there we have that. So now again, everything will line up just like it did in the last equation. This time you have 4p equals negative 12. Well, our distance cannot be negative. Remember, you're counting, and the distance is always a positive thing. I can't say I walked negative 23 miles. That doesn't make any sense. So even though our value is negative, when it comes out this way, it means that p equals 3. That negative, our p is negative. That tells us the direction of our parabola. So when your p-value is negative for the y squared, your parabola does faces left. So it will look like this. So that's what that negative does. It tells us which direction our parabola is going. So if our p-value is negative for a y squared, it faces to the left. If our p-value is positive, it faces to the right. You can always go back and look at your first day of notes. All of that was in there. So now you have your p-value. We are going to pull out our vertex, which is h comma k. And just like the last one, I will show you both ways of doing this. Here I have that negative k equals positive 1. So what's going to happen? That sign's going to change. Whether I just pull it out of here and say that it's negative 1 or I solve it, your preference. Same thing over here. I have that negative h equals negative 2. When you divide by negative 1, h equals 2. So like I said, when we pull them out, their signs will change. Make sure you put them in the right order when you come over here. It's h comma k. And that gets us our vertex. Now we can use this information to graph our parabola. So our vertex, 2, negative 1. Okay. Now our p-value is 3. Remember that we have a y squared, so that means we're moving left and right. Remember your focus is in front of your vertex. So if my vertex is here and my p-value is negative, it's opening this way, which means 3 this way, 1, 2, 3, puts my focus, and then 3 behind that gets me my directrix, because again, we want it opening in this direction. Okay, so now let's find out what these are. Here was my vertex at 2, negative 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It crosses the x equals, so it x-axis, so it's an x equals. And our focus is over here at negative 1, negative 1. So there's our crucial information. P equals 3. Our vertex is 2, negative 1. Our focus is negative 1, negative 1. And our directrix is x equals 5. And there we go. There's our second example. So again, those initial equations, whether it's an x squared or a y squared, determines a lot about your parabola. So you need to maybe go back and review that first day information on how I discussed and showed you those pictures of the parabolas and which way they opened. That will be very important these next couple of days in you grasping this information. All right, so let's do another one. Number 3. X squared minus 14x minus 12y plus 73. Okay, so again, look at who's squared. I've got x squared. So this stuff stays on the left. This is going to move to the right. Take our b value, divide it by 2, and square it. We get negative 7 squared, which is positive 49. Add that to both sides. That's our magic number. So square root of 49 is 7. In order to get negative 14, they have to both be negative 7s. And over here, when you combine your like terms, negative 73 plus 49 should get us 24. Now I can factor out my GCF, which is 12. And here I am. So since I have my x squared, I go to my x squared equation. And I'm going to pick out and solve for my crucial information. So for p equals 12, when I divide by 4, that means my p equals 3. Here my p was positive, so my p is positive, and it's x squared. So x squareds either open up or down. When they are positive, they open up. Okay, so a little side information that I want to have in the back of my brain. So now let's go get h and k, which is my vertex. So I've got negative h equals negative 7, which means that h equals positive 7. And k will end up equaling negative 2. Put them here, h, k. Now we can start graphing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. So here's my vertex at 7, negative 2. And I know my p-value is 3, and I know that this opens up. So my focus must be in front of that. And if it's opening up, it means it's going in this upward direction. So 1, 2, 3 puts my focus here at 7, 1. And 1, 2, 3 behind it will be my directrix at y equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it opens up like we said it should. My p-value is 3, and I've got my crucial pieces of information. So p equals 3, my vertex is 7, negative 2, my focus is 7, 1, and my directrix is y equals 5. All right, so I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to give you one that I want you to try. Again, cannot stress this enough. Go back and look at your notes. It will help you understand the two pieces or two parts of what we have learned coming together. And number 4. So y squared plus, nope, not plus, I'm lying. Didn't really cover that. Y squared minus 12x minus 4y plus 64. So again, I look at what I have and who's squared. I've got y squared, so that means I want the two y pieces to stay on this side. And I want my x and the other number to move to the right. Okay. Take my b, divide it by 2 and square it. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2, but negative 2 squared does get me positive 4. So there's my magic number. Square root of 4 is 2. The way to get those to be negative 4 is negative 2 and negative 2. Over here, I end up with negative 60. Factor out the GCF of 12. And now I have my equation in standard form. Again, write out your equation so that you know where things line up. And we're going to solve for p. And p comes out to be 3. Okay, so since I have a y squared and my p is 3, it's positive, and it's with the y squared, that means it opens to the right. So it's going to open to the right. So there's my information. Here's my vertex. We've got negative k equals negative 2. So that means k equals positive 2. And h will come out to be positive 5. So 5, 2. Again, make sure you put them in the right order. Two, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Puts my vertex here. I don't want to write out vertex. I wanted to write the point. So this is 5, 2. And now we look at what should happen. So I know that it should be opening to the right, which means my focus is in front of that. So go 3 in front, and there is your focus. So if this was 5, 6, 7, 8, 2 would be my focus. And 3 behind that, 1, 2, 3, will get me a directrix of x equals 2. So it opens facing the right, like we said it should. I've got my focus, my vertex, my directrix, and I'm good to go. So p equals 3, vertex is 5, 2, focus is 8, 2, and my directrix is x equals 2. All right. So there's our lesson for today. In Schoology, after these, you've copied these notes, there'll be an equation there for you to try. Please take your time. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'll write it here for you. Let's try it. Sorry, it's in my computer. I gotta stretch. All right. So your practice question, I'll give you right here. So your practice is going to be this question, which will be your number 5 in your notes. X squared minus 12x minus 16y plus 36. Okay, so this is the question I want you to do. Remember that you are to find the vertex, the directrix, and focus. And in that means you're finding P. So give that a try and send me a picture of this work, please. Have a good day.